are you running? Why are you running?
Guys, Cassiopeia is actually broken. Before every season, I look at as many tier lists and OP picks as I can. It is no secret that you can win a lot more games by playing strong meta champions, and that is exactly what I do to climb. Well, this season, I was looking at op.gg and saw that Cassiopeia was one of the S tier champions for the mid lane. And I'm gonna be honest, I was kind of confused. Cassiopeia has not been OP in a long time and has kind of just been a good old standard control mage. Of course, there is a small group of players that play her religiously as one tricks, but besides that, I didn't see her played on any top streams or in any pro games at the end of season 9. I decided to look a little bit deeper and figure out how she had risen to S tier status, and then I found it. This one change allows Cassiopeia to ground champions that are directly on top of her. This was a direct counter to assassins and made her early and mid game so much stronger. Already at the start of season 10, I have achieved a 91% win rate with Cassiopeia, and I'm not sure what makes her so great in the current meta. Now, keep in mind, I'm not doing anything inherently special in my games. In fact, from the gameplay, you can probably tell that the early game is pretty boring, but she is so safe and so good at farming that she can hit her 3-item power spike with such ease that makes carrying games super smooth. Guys, also, just a disclaimer, I'm not a Cassiopeia main. I just started playing her because apparently she's good and I wanted to find some easy success. Per usual, we're going to talk about the things that we don't like, and you're going to want to pay attention because these couple of things include some of her major weaknesses. And if you can learn to play around that, then you are learning one of the strongest mid lane mages in the current meta. You'll be able to find a lot of success at the start of season 10.
Do I look?
Before Cassiopeia's rework, she had an infamous level 2 all-in. This was so strong that people would stand all the way back in lane and let her push the wave into the tower. Fortunately, after her rework and her mana nerfs in season 9, this isn't really possible. She has relatively no kill threat until she is level 6 with the Tear of the Goddess. Although I miss her ability to get kills in the early game, it was traded for a way stronger late game and a much easier time getting through because of increased scaling and ease of last hitting. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. In the early level, she will run out of mana before she can bring someone to 0 HP. I have tried bullying a couple melee opponents in lane before basing to get my tier, and guys, it's awful. I just run out of mana and it makes it way harder to farm. So instead what I've been doing is just chill out and farm with my E, and then once I get tier and a couple of basic AP items, it's a lot easier to harass my opponent and also deny them farm. Okay, I gotta make these quick because I got a lot of good stuff to talk about, but the second thing I don't like about playing Cassiopeia is her really weak early game. Like I just mentioned, after Cassiopeia's recent patch in season 9, they really nerfed her early game, especially when she's playing against assassins. This can be kind of frustrating because there were many times that as a ranged champion, I could punish the enemy assassin, but I didn't have the mana or the stats to efficiently do it. This forced me to play safer and focus on farm more than contesting every CS and playing as aggressive as I would on a different champion. Overall, her early game is really weak, so you should just focus on farming and get your tier as soon as possible. There have even been games where I've based it 4.5 minutes to get a Tear of the Goddess. Once you have your tier, you can play much more aggressively because her mana pool increases a lot. Also, you should take TP so that when you back early in the game, you don't lose a lot of XP or gold and can keep up your wave pressure. Alright, that wasn't that long. Now let's go over what makes Cassiopeia so amazing right now.
Snakes in the grass keep mowing.
Snakes in the grass keep mowing.
One of the things that makes Cassiopeia so strong right now is that players, especially at lower elos, just don't know how to play against her. She hasn't been a popular pick for a very long time, so people are unsure how to punish her weaknesses. And if players are assessing her weaknesses in game, by the time they figure out how to actually punish her, it's too late to do anything and she turns into a 1v9 champion. Another great thing about Cassiopeia that should make her appealing to lower ranked and new players is her ability to farm and last hit minions with E. With her last rework, they changed the way that her E works. Instead of only casting on enemies that are poisoned, you can use it at all times. Although it does do more damage against champions who are poisoned, but that really doesn't matter right now. The mana is also refunded if you use it to last hit a champion. This is an incredible addition and has allowed me to get almost perfect CS in the first couple minutes of the game. I also love this little trick when you auto a low health minion and then shoot your E to execute it. Your mana is also refunded even if the target is killed by your auto attack and not by your E. So it's kind of a foolproof way to get high CS in the early game, which a lot of players struggle with. Earlier in this video, I mentioned how Cassiopeia has a very weak laning phase, but this all changes when she gets her tier. This allows her to have much more mana and use it to punish her opponent. Once you do have tier, you should use your Q in the spot where your opponent will pause to auto attack a minion. This will give you a minor speed boost and you can use it in accordance with your E to get some good harass on your opponent. Once you do this a couple of times, you can really start looking for an all-in opportunity. Her kit just gives her so much power to farm efficiently, and she can even deny her opponent farm after she gets her tier. Recently, Riot added a new mechanic into the game called Ground. Cassiopeia's W is an ability that she can cast in a very short radius that slows and applies poison to her enemy, but it also has a ground effect. This limits them from using mobility to get out of the radius of this ground, which includes dashes, leaps, blinks. Wait, does it include flash? It also includes flash. So your enemy is forced to walk out of this radius of your W while you're also slowing them with the W plus rallies once you build it. This ability is so good and most players aren't familiar with it, so it allows you to counter them very effectively. This also makes Cass a very good counter to mobile champions throughout all parts of the game. If you guys haven't had to go up against the Cassiopeia ultimate before, her ultimate is a scream that shoots out in a short distance cone. Those that are looking in her direction are stunned, and champions that are looking the other way are slowed but get the same amount of damage inflicted. This is such a good team fighting and counter engage ability. If you can get a couple people caught in the stun, comboed with the ground and slow from your W, you can win almost any team fight single-handedly. Her ultimate can also be used to counter a gank, and there have been times where I've 1v2'd the enemy jungler and mid laner when they're chasing me down the mid lane. For having so much sustained damage with the low cooldowns on her E and Q, she also dishes out an insane amount of CC and burst. Like I mentioned in this video, the only real weakness that I've found in Cassiopeia is her early game, but this quickly disappears once you get tier and start harassing your lane opponent. You might also be thinking,
but Snowda, Cassiopeia can't buy boots, so she doesn't have great mobility.
well, shut up! Cassiopeia cannot buy boots, and this allows her to funnel 1100 more gold into items that will make her stronger, because instead of buying boots, she gets passive, scaling, move speed. Yeah, you heard me.
Passive scaling move speed.
So you get to save that 1100 gold, but still get the same benefits of buying boots. This is insane because with Cassiopeia's loaded kit, she is such a safe laner. Although she is short range and doesn't have an escape, her ultimate and W can allow her to get back to her tower safely and avoid ganks. The only game that I've lost this season with Cassiopeia was in a game where I was repeatedly ganked by the enemy Rek'Sai, and I wasn't able to scale to a point to be useful. But this has only happened once out of 12 games so far. In the other games, I've been able to survive almost every time against ganks. She might seem like a risky immobile champion, but she isn't, and she even counters champions with a lot of mobility later in the game. She also builds 3 items, mind you, without having to take a break to buy boots, and all of these items have a shield or bonus health. Hey guys, what's up? It's Snowda. I'm editing this video right now, and I realized that I missed a couple of the things that really make Cassiopeia so great. The first one is Conqueror. When they made the changes to Conqueror like a couple patches ago, or really was at the beginning of, the end of season 9, and the changes to Conqueror really put her in a powerful spot and allows her to stack it really easily and adds a ton of adaptive damage. Here, I'm going to pop the runes up on the screen really quick. These are the ones that I've been using. You can use different runes, but these are pretty standard among like Cassiopeia mains, what the pro players are playing right now, although few pros are playing her. This is what they're taking. Also, this is the build. You're going to rush tier, like you're going to back as soon as you have 850 gold, buy tier, and then TP back into your lane, and then you can continue to farm and scale up and be a beast. You're going to build that into Mirror Mana, or whatever it's called. It'll scale up and turn into Mirror Mana. The second item you're going to want to buy is Rallies. The only time that you won't buy Rallies right away is if you need to buy Morellonomicon for some anti-healing, but rarely does that happen. If that happens, get Morellonomicon second, and then go into Rallies, Leandri's Torment with Haunting Guys, and then you can kind of go into whatever you want. You can get Zanyas if there's a lot of dive on the enemy team. You can get Void Staff. If there's a lot of squishy champions and you're strong, man, go ahead, get that Rabadon's Death Cap and keep one-shotting them. Really quick too, you have a lot of flexibility if you guys do make it to the super late game and you need a 6th item. At that point, just buy like a GA, another AP item or something, but at least make sure you have something to keep yourself alive. If you even need to buy Banshees or another tank item, then by all means, go for it. Situational items are Void Staff, Zanyas, Rabadons. You can kind of do whatever after your first core 3. So yeah, since you don't have to buy boots, these are your 3 primary buys. All right, guys, back to the video. In my last video, I mentioned that League is a team game, and the team that plays together better will win. This is still true and is one of the reasons why I love playing Cassiopeia so much. Her team fighting is unmatched, and she can output so much damage and CC while being able to survive with her health, shield from Mirror Mana, and stacked kit. Guys, she is so fun to teamfight with because you can duel almost anybody, or even 1v2 the champions that dive the backline, and she has so much utility and survivability. Even if she's the last one alive, she can still totally win a team fight. Cassiopeia can avoid getting one-shot by assassins and bruisers in the late game because of the tankiness offered by some of her items. Guys, she is just so fun. You have to play this champion before they nerf her. I also need to mention that with blue buff, she can also melt Baron during literally any time of the game. So if you're playing against her, you must keep Baron or any dragon warded if you want to make sure her and her jungler don't sneak it under your nose. She just offers so much to her team in the late game. Now when everyone starts to group as 5 for objectives, it's not that hard to recommend her in her current state. Her poison alone scales so well in the late game that if you hit a squishy champion like the enemy ADC with her Q, you're going to chunk their health by half. There's really not much more that I can say except that you need to add Cassiopeia to your champion pool because she'll give you a lot of freelo. This champion has been so fun to play lately and has given me so much success at the beginning of Season 10. I wish you guys good luck in solo queue, and as always, it's been Snowda. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.